This morning in Wisconsin, ahead of the big primary Tuesday night. Meanwhile, the FBI reportedly completing its examination of Hillary Clinton's emails. The FBI, along with the Justice Department, prosecutors will reportedly soon conduct interviews with Hillary Clinton and her key aides to determine whether criminal charges should be filed against the former Secretary of State. Joining me now is former Democratic presidential candidate and Hillary Clinton supporter, Bob Kerrey. Good to see you, Senator. Thanks so much for joining us.
Nice to see you.
It seems that this is really an important moment in time because, on the one hand, Hillary Clinton can say, yes, I'll speak to you, and yes, I'll explain it all, what happened with me having my own server. Or, no, I'm not going to speak to you because my lawyer says this might incriminate me. Obviously an important election year. Both are not good.
No, it's never good to have the FBI in possession of your server, checking out what's in it. That's never a good set of circumstances, even if you're not running for president. If you're running for president, it's not good to have it going on. And in this particular case, I do think she's got a very difficult time explaining why you put a server in your home. And my own view of it is it's because you didn't want to fulfill the requirements of the Administrative Procedure Act, especially the Freedom of Information Act. And we wouldn't have even known about it were it not for the Benghazi Committee. So I'm not a big fan of the Benghazi Committee, but they're the ones that unearthed that she had done this. It was a tragic error.
Right.
You could make a case that FOIA needs to change. You could make a case that the classification system needs to be changed, that both of them interfere with your capacity to do the job. But her response was, I just didn't want to have two cell phones, which was, I think, false on its face.
Is that big enough to unwind her candidacy? Because we all know, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You want a server in your basement, why you did it. You don't want the government to be reading your emails and tracking your emails.
No, I think...
Is there anything else? I mean, is there any other reason?
It isn't the government. She's a government official, and the law says that the public has a right to know what communications are going on.
Right, government or anybody.
Right, and can submit a FOIA request. Now, significantly, Congress exempted itself in '67 when it passed that law, but that's the law. And if you don't want to abide by the law, it seems to me what you have, particularly if you're Secretary of State, you should make an effort to try to change the law rather than try to circumvent it, which I think is what happened here. As to whether or not it unravels her campaign, it certainly hasn't thus far, and I have no opinion as to whether or not this is going to end up with a criminal indictment. Who knows?
But people who support her, who are within her campaign, if this issue comes up, they dismiss it outright. And they think people are crazy for talking about it. Is that in and of itself dangerous to her when in November or even getting the nomination?
Yeah, it's potentially dangerous. I mean, I think you're crazy talking about whether or not John Kasich ought to eat pizza with a fork or with his hands, but this particular issue, I think, is an important issue. And I think it would have been far better, and still would be far better, if Secretary Clinton would say, look, FOIA is a problem, classification system is a problem, we have to change it in order for us to be able to do our work. And if Congress doesn't think so, it should put itself under FOIA as well. But that's not what's going on. We're not having a conversation about what the Administrative Procedure Act, FOIA, and our classification system does to citizens' capacity to have a high expectation that the executive branch is going to function well.
FOIA being the Freedom of Information.
Very good.
Make sure everybody understands what you're talking about. People throw out FOIA.
And it's in the '67 Act.
Senator, why isn't Secretary Clinton bringing that to light then? Why isn't she focused on that, saying, you know what, here's what's right and wrong, maybe we should talk about doing this as well? Is it just not what the voters care about? Is it not what she should be doing right now? What should she be focused on here?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've chosen a different course than the one that I've just advocated myself. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're hoping they can just get beyond it, and they're likely to be able to. I mean, again, if there's no indictment comes out of the Department of Justice, if FBI doesn't open a criminal case here, they're apt to be able to get right by it.
But the information is going to get out one way or another. If there's no indictment, it will be leaked. People will quit. And you have, what, more than 140 some odd FBI agents on this? I would guess they're looking at more than just that server. They're looking at the Clinton Foundation as well. And again, there's no telling what's in there.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, my own view is the Department of Justice oftentimes and the FBI oftentimes puts way too many resources into trying to getting criminal indictments. It's one of the reasons we have so many people in federal prison that shouldn't be there, but that's a separate point of conversation. I'll just repeat it, I can't predict what the FBI is going to do.
So let me ask you about the other side in terms of this race. A new Reuters